Hey guys, good morning. We have some more contract flashcards, and getting on to the first one is the difference between real estate, which is real property, and personal property. Okay. Okay, so we have real estate, or real property, is everything more or less permanently affixed to land. And that's your real property. Okay. Personal property is everything else. Personal property includes vehicles, jewelry, securities, stocks, and bonds. Sometimes there are disputes. Common sources of disputes are chandeliers, window treatments, built-in appliances, and crops. Sometimes they are disputes. Okay. Common sources of dispute. Boy, I'm trying to understand dispute as a term, sometimes called disputes, if that's pronounced correctly. And it's the first time I've heard of that, disputes. And but anyhow, the main thing I know is real estate is or real property is everything more or less permanently attached to land. Personal property is not attached to land and is everything else. Okay. What elements are required for a valid enforceable contract for the sale of real estate? The main elements of a contract. Okay. A valid enforceable contract for the sale of real estate must have these elements. It must have an offer. There must be an acceptance. There must be legal competent parties. There must be consideration. There must be legal purpose. It should be written description of the property. Again, this is pertaining to real estate, so a valid enforceable contract for real estate, because some contracts don't require written, real estate does. Description of the property. Signatures of the principals or their attorneys in fact will create a valid enforceable contract. These are very important terms to know. Okay. All right, what is it meant by a valid contract, a void contract? Simple description. A valid contract has legally binding force. It is legally sufficient to bind both parties and authorized by law. A void contract cannot be enforced. Pretty simple. What does a real estate sales agreement by any name provide? What does a real estate sales agreement provide? A sales agreement is a written agreement between the seller and purchaser in which the purchaser agrees to buy certain real estate and a seller agrees to sell on the terms of the agreement. For example, Abel's broker prepares an agreement of sale to sell a home to Baker. Both party principals sign. It states that the price of $500,000 is to be paid in cash at closing, subject to Baker's ability to arrange a $400,000 loan, subject to, at an 8% interest rate, and Abel's ability to deliver good title. What are some common names for a contract for the purchase and sale of real estate? What are some common names for a contract for the purchase and sale of real estate? This has a lot of information here. Okay. A contract for the purchase and sale of real estate is the agreement. It is the agreement between buyer and seller that spells out the sales price and other terms of the sale, including the date of closing. Most often is offered by the prospective buyer, usually accompanied by earnest money to show good faith, and may be accepted or rejected by the seller. When it is signed by both parties, it becomes binding on both of them. Names for this agreement can vary by the region of the United States, but the names most commonly used are sales agreement, sales contract, real estate contract, purchase agreement, purchase and sale agreement, agreement of sale, offer and acceptance, earnest money contract. Okay? Those are all the names for a contract to purchase real estate. What is meant by caveat emptor? Caveat emptor. Caveat emptor is Latin for let the buyer beware. It describes a general doctrine in which a buyer must examine the goods of property and buy at his own risk, except for latent defects. In recent years, the doctrine has been eroded, especially by the disclosure requirements about property conditions introduced in many states. Often, a property is offered as is, with no express or implied guarantee of quality or condition. When entering such transaction, caveat emptor is a worthy admonition. Okay, so caveat emptor is Latin for let buyers beware. Okay. What is parole evidence? What is parole evidence? Parole evidence is oral evidence. So parole evidence is oral evidence as opposed to that contained in documents written. Parole evidence is oral. Okay? The parole evidence rule states that when parties put their agreement in writing, all previous oral agreements merge into the written agreement. The written agreement cannot be contradicted by oral testimony unless there was a mistake or fraud. The term parole, like parole, see the difference is the E on the end. So we have the term parole, like parole with the E in the end, in the context of prison, is derived from the French word for to speak. To remember its meaning, it might be helpful to associate it with parole, someone's word or oath, and parley, oral discussion or conference. I haven't seen too much parole out there without the E, or with the E in real estate, but that's one of the terms that they're asking us to study. What is the Statute of Frauds? That's a known one. It's important. This is our last card, folks, so get ready to take a break. Statute of Frauds is a state law that provides that certain contracts must be written in order to be enforceable. It applies to deeds, mortgages, and other real estate contracts, with the exception of leases for periods shorter than 1 year. So the Statute of Frauds is a state law that provides that certain contracts must be written in order to be enforceable. That Statute of Frauds must be written to be enforceable. It applies to deeds, mortgages, and other real estate contracts, with the exception of leases for periods shorter than 1 year. All right, guys. Hey, thanks a lot. I'm going to get this posted for you. And you like the video, share, and again, to retain, take a break, watch again, take another break. Allow your mind to compartmentalize the information, and you'll be able to recall it easier in the future. Thank you.